This is Infection, the survival podcast, recorded live on Tuesday, February 6th, 2018, episode 160. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Infection, the survival podcast. Infection is your source for the latest information on survival video games. We bring you the latest news, reviews, updates, and more each and every week. My name is Nick Craig, at Nicholas M. Craig is my Twitter. InfectionPodcast.com is the website. We're on time. This is fantastic. Well, we're late, but we're not. We're half an hour early compared to last week's program.
Compared to last week, yes.
Everything would have been earlier. What's going on, Brian? How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing a lot better than the last couple of weeks. So, as I was telling Nick before the show, I've got a lot more use of my arm.
Is that a hand I saw? Look at, wow. There you go.
I can
you can wave to the fans.
Yeah, so I can lift up. So in physical therapy, I go to physical therapy now at least once a week, twice a week. And so a lot of it, they give me exercises to do each day. A lot of it's just getting the movement because it's not, I guess it's that my muscles just don't want to move certain ways, right? So a lot of it, I have to just do repetitive movements so that my muscles learn that it's okay to move there and to let it go a little bit farther next time. So it's not that like certain parts are injured or anything, but I guess when you don't use it for a while, they said that it gets really stiff, and then plus, from the surgery. So if
you don't use it, you lose it. That's what they say.
Gets a little bit better each and every day. So, all right, if you want to find me at Boise Computer on Twitter, or you can go check out my blog, biteoftech.com. Of course, go check out our website, infectionpodcast.com. If you go on there, we've got our links to all our different things you can find us on the internet from, our Twitch page, our Twitter page, our YouTube page. And we've got just a lot of different things on there. If you're going to be on the road, maybe you usually watch us on YouTube. We got links there to get onto your mobile app. The main thing I tell people is just go join the Discord, because if you're looking for a good group of people to play with, people that are sarcastic throughout the whole day and give each other a hard time, it's pretty much our Discord. So just click that link and it will take you right into our server. It's a free mobile app, also a free desktop app, and they're pretty low resource usage. So you shouldn't have any issues running them on either your phone or your computer. And it's just really nice to have. It's an excellent audio app. Also, they have, I've been using lately, their screen sharing. So you just join, you message somebody, and then you do a voice call, which acts like a normal channel, but just between you two.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can do screen sharing with it, which is pretty nice. And that, because for me, Google Hangouts, the audio in it just gets really weird. Like Hangouts haven't worked for me correctly, and I've lost track of how long.
2 years.
A year?
Well, since Windows 10 came out.
Yeah. And it's just, I've had issues where it gets all digitally and people have a hard time understanding me. So I've been using that and it works perfect. So I don't really need to use Hangouts anymore for doing screen shares and things. So if anything, just join our Discord and then you can use it for your own personal, whatever you want. But make sure when you come in, you introduce yourself, say who you are and how you found the show, because that'll save Nick from having to ask the question.
Yes, please.
So, yep. All right. Is there anything else we need to cover?
Well, yes, and I've got to ask, I saw the messages in Discord. I was not available. How did Rust go, Brian?
So it was pretty rough initially, because
people in chat are going to be talking about, are going to be rebutting back. So
initially, for some reason, the server, after you got about 5 or 6 people on it, it was just lagging out.
Okay.
And so I started doing, on the fly, started trying to figure out, okay, well, what's causing it? Because it for some reason just was using more than it should have, like more resources than it should have. And it was just pretty much dropping, and it was affecting the other instances. So like whole other VMs. And so I went through and limited the resources to it and just really trying to track it down. And what I figured out, and it's something that I normally do, but usually they're in the instructions for setting up certain games. And so I just kind of thought about it and realized, okay, well, here's what I did on other games. And there's a limit in Linux that you can set for how many open files can be open at one time. And by default, it's 1024, I think.
Okay.
Is the default number of open files you can have in the system. Well, Rust uses for every single object in the game, it's a TXT file. So every single object in the game has its own TXT file that like that has all the information for that object. And so as you run around the world, like it's accessing hundreds for each person at least of TXT files, plus whatever it's touching at the time on the server anyways. And so that was the issue. I went through and I raised, because but it should be more like 10,000. You could do 100,000 if you wanted to. And that's usually what I do on the game server. So I raised that up. And then after that, we didn't get as many people in. I want to get a big group in there again to test to see how it runs. But we didn't have any issues after I changed those settings, and it should be running just fine now. Like nobody's complained that it's lagged out since.
Okay, cool. So that's
but that was good. I mean, because all the other games were on one VM, or like we're on one instance, and so that one was already set up in the correct way. So this one was a new one that we spun up for Rust, so it should now be configured properly as well.
Very cool.
So yeah.
So I guess no. I messaged PH. Of course, he's the bastion of truth in our Discord. He said no playing went on. Can you confirm that? Was it really that bad?
We played. It's when he came on, and it's not because it was him, but he just happened to be like that fifth or sixth person.
He was the straw.
And so we were playing before that, and everything seemed good. And I was like, okay, it's working. And then all of a sudden, like that fifth and sixth person came on, and that it just would cut out totally. So Sarah is asking, well, how do they get 200 plus people on a server? Well, they go through and they just set 100,000. There can be 100,000 open files at one time. Like, and that's somehow a file's being touched. Something's being touched. 100,000 instances of that at once. It's just Linux defaults at a low number to prevent people from doing crazy things, right? So you can put limits on how many files an individual person can open. The problem is we were hitting that limit, and then the server, I don't know if it queues them. I don't know what it does, but it did something, and it wasn't able to continue keeping up with the server at that point. So yeah, so now it should be fine. But as I said, it'd be fun to get 8+ people on there again and just test and see what we can do, because we should be able to handle 30 people, 40 people on there, no issues.
Absolutely.
So that's why it was frustrating me. I knew there was something that either it was Rust was a really horrible, but I saw servers that had a lot of people on them. So I said, it can't be that horrible. Like if a server has 200 people on, like, and it runs, we should be able to handle. Unless they're using
like the IBM cloud to to run their server.
Which I can't imagine.
No.
For running Rust.
Yeah, I don't think that.
So here's the debate. Okay, here's an interesting debate. So
okay, I'm ready for the debate.
All right, so that server, and I want to get your input on this. So that server, we have some people who regularly play Rust, right? So they jumped on the server and they played Rust in the way that it normally is played, right? And then we have our casual, normal people that go on and play these other games, and then they don't want to be killed. Yeah. So what's the proper way to play Rust on our server? Like,
however you'd like.
I don't
really care.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think you should enforce any rules, right?
No.
But that's the thing is, who do you set up the server for, and can they coexist?
No, they can't coexist. They can coexist. I guess it depends. I mean, if somebody's just running around and killing people randomly, and that's what we're trying to get away from, then that's not what our server is. I mean,
well, that's what I'm saying is people run around and they just kill each other. But do we want that to a point?
Yes, I think we want that to a point.
Are you going to have fun in the long run not having any of that?
No, I'm not saying we need to have a PvP server, but the fact of every time
like
that you
Sarah
see
is
somebody,
saying, it's not going to last long entertainment-wise without having PvP.
Oh, absolutely.
So there has to be an element of PvP. I was looking at even having possibly a mod that creates PvP zones, like airdrops, anywhere around an airdrop, or there's certain things like when loot crates come out, all around those objects, PvP is enabled within a certain region. But then if you want to get away from the PvP and you want to go loot, you just can get away from the airdrops and things and you're safe. I was curious, and I didn't put it on there, but that is an option that I think would make it so you could coexist between the two player types.
I think
You
that's
get your PvP in,
I think that's what has
but
to
you can
happen
also
because
have casual.
the problem we've had with Rust in the past is not that Rust is a bad game at all. I don't think it is, but it's unplayable for casual people. That's the long and the short of it. It's not. It's like every moment is for people that have maybe haven't played Rust. Every moment of Rust is like an H1Z1 raid. Whenever an enemy sees you, they kill you instantly. And for certain game and for certain
value
and for certain people that's fine. But
fears
I mean, and that's fine if that's your playstyle. That's your playstyle. But for our group, who is playing it incredibly casually, it just doesn't make any sense. So it just doesn't make for a super casual.
What I'd like to encourage is multiple groups, separate groups to come on the server. Because if everybody plays along with it, is all the same group, you're not going to have a chance to get that PvP. But I think if you can get competitive groups together, that have that mindset of, okay, we have our PvP groups, the groups that like to PvP, then you can have a couple people that like to go casual, that maybe won't participate in that. But I think you have to get those PvP people in there to really make it worth going in and playing in the long run. Yeah, I think people right now, because they've never played it before, PvP just seems like, ugh, I want to be able to loot and not die every 10 seconds.
Yeah.
But I bet after you've gotten to the point where you're like, okay, I'm as comfortable with this game as, I am with Ark, then you want something different. This doesn't have the depth of Ark. Like, it doesn't go as far as Ark. But I think that you'd hit that point after playing it for a couple of weeks to where you're like, all right, now I need some PvP. Like, I've already done all this other stuff.
Yeah. And I think that's the, I mean, that's the big divide in Rust is what play style. I mean, personally, I probably wouldn't install anything to stop it. But I guess I don't know. Well, I would assume we'll figure it out.
Well, and that's the thing is like, I can set like how big that circle. It just sets a huge.
I don't like putting.
We'll have to figure it out.
I don't like putting restrictions in games. I'm not a big fan of that. Like if you play on our Minecraft server, there are no restrictions. You can't build near the spawn, but that's like every server. You have like a 15 block or 10 block radius from the spawn that you can't build.
So Sarah is saying like monument PvP, which I think is what they consider what the like the nuclear plant, like with the big objects in the world, the lighthouse, would that be a monument, I assume? Is that what they consider monuments?
I'm not sure.
So PvP around those objects that maybe would have high value loot would be enabled, and then airdrops would be enabled, and then like loot crates, I guess, would be PvP areas. So I don't know. We can we'll look at it. I'll show you guys the mods in Discord.
I got a great idea.
You can look over them.
This is what we're gonna do. Next week's show, Brian, remind me of this. Chat, remind me of this. We'll do a straw poll. Actually, we'll do it after this show. We'll post it in Discord, and we'll put it on Twitter for a straw poll, and then we'll make our decision based on that. And then that will let people
and I'll
decide.
put a link that shows so people can look at what they do. And
exactly.
Figure it out.
So we'll do a straw poll on.
I mean, because I'm fine with doing whatever. I don't want to have people so frustrated and then like.
Well, here's the thing.
Nobody plays on.
Our servers are not meant to be. We're not putting servers online to be public servers in the sense of we're not opposed to having 40 or 50 people playing, but our servers are more to cater towards our players, our group of our audience, the people that watch this program, and that's how we cater the servers. If that wasn't the case, we'd have no point just playing a public server. The problem is the public servers are toxic and suck for casual players, not for everybody. Just for casual players that just want to hop in for a couple days, maybe a weekend and play. The public servers are garbage, and most of the private servers suck too because it's a cluster. So
yeah,
that was kind of our goal. But we'll put a little vote out, a straw poll, and we'll go from there. We'll let you, the viewer, decide.
That works for me.
Now, I've got something else before we get into news. DrDisrespect is back.
Yes.
you've got it listed in the notes here, but I guess we'll cover this before we get into the
Sure.
news. Did you have a chance to watch any of this?
Yeah, I did. I actually saw.
I was not
when
around.
he first. Yeah, so I saw his initial broadcast,
Okay.
which pretty much took down Twitch.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if it was related, but the second that he went on air, Twitch became Twitch became unresponsive. And it kept saying this show does not exist.
Mm.
Like Twitch was having real issues, and it broke. I mean, the thing is that opening show, which, took a while. I'm glad that he didn't just go, not realizing that it was not working, because when he came in, he broke Twitch records as far as concurrent people watching those streams. Yeah. And so that was pretty big. He came on, and it's pretty much the same DrDisrespect that you remember, with a little bit. I don't know if you really looked into it much, but I did. I caught some of the things he was saying. So one thing is, he doesn't drink anymore. He's rebranded. And I think you never know. Maybe that month that he was gone, he might have been in rehab, possibly, right? Because he was gone about a month, right?
Yeah. Perfect time for Christmas vacation. Just saying.
Yeah. And so I'm kind of personally guessing that he might have gone to rehab during that month.
Okay.
Because I remember when he received his award, I made some comments about he had a drinking problem.
A little sauced.
Yeah. I mean, and the thing is that could be a one-time event. You're excited that may happen, but just usually when I see videos of him not in character at trade shows and everything, he's always in a bar and he's always drinking. Right.
Yeah.
Which is kind of, that's something with TwitchCon and things like that, but that's pretty much when you see him and he always has a drink in his hand. And so, he may have realized that going there, being around all these girls that are throwing themselves at you, and you're getting alcohol, pretty much probably getting as much free alcohol as you want, being who you are at Twitch, right? All these are no host bar. You go up and just drink as much as you want. That's a dangerous mix for a guy. And so, I think he realized that for him to go to Twitch or to keep doing these things and being in the same environments, he had to make some pretty big changes. He had to go quit drinking. He had to go and, one thing he changed, he's got to go with he doesn't have to. I don't know what the conversations, but what he said he's doing is his wife is coming to the shows with him. So coming to TwitchCon, coming to different things. And then he's going to be, and not be drinking anymore. So it'll be interesting to see how that changes. There's supposed to be the unveiling video shows his wife in some of these videos as an assassin. Like she's got a knife up to his neck, kind of playing this whole, like she's controlling him, playing off of that whole thing as far as he's going to listen to what she says now. But I'm kind of wondering how much that has to, she's not really come into the scene. I was thinking they were going to somehow try to bring her into some of these early broadcasts, and you just like before, you just see her hand coming in the scene every once in a while, maybe you hear her voice a little bit.
Okay. But
you haven't really seen her coming in. They haven't unveiled her to where she's on camera yet. So I'm not sure if that's something they're waiting till she's comfortable. Maybe she's nervous. If she's going to be really in actual on the screen type of a role, I don't know. Be interesting to see.
So 45 days according to Firebomb, December 16th to February 5th, right in the smack dab middle of Christmas.
Rehab is usually a month? I hear people going away for a month. I don't know if it's a set in stone.
Yeah, I don't know how that typically works. A month is a common time. I'm not sure exactly how that is. But he broke Twitch viewer count records at the number, according to PC Gamers, 387,000 concurrent people, which is nuts. But I guess not nuts when you compare that there's 3 million people playing PUBG at any given moment.
There's so many of those are Chinese. I don't think a lot of his fans are Chinese.
And it's now called the Champions Club. It's no longer the Slick Daddy Club.
Which, I mean, plays off of the whole, you know, he's not wanting to come on. I mean, but he could get away with saying certain things and acting a certain way. And now he's going to have to be more sensitive to that, because when you put yourself off as a player, as, you know, a ladies' man,
you're a Slick Daddy. I mean, the whole.
I mean, that's
concept.
the whole point.
Yes.
Well, your wife's not going to like the idea of you being Slick Daddy and now going away and doing all these things, which, you know, I think he had a tough time when he goes to these trade shows. People that come up to you, they look at you and they treat you like the character that you play. Like, a lot of people don't really, they may say it in their minds, but they don't really have a concept that this person is different. Like, I'm not talking to DrDisrespect. I'm talking to Guy Beam. That's the guy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm talking to him. I'm not talking to this character. And I think that he was getting to a point to where the character was mixing, right? Like, he was starting to get the attitude of the character when it was supposed to be a total, like, over the top, ridiculously cocky.
A caricature.
A caricature.
And it makes sense. I mean, he was streaming
that in.
Well, and it makes sense. I mean, when you're doing that 8, 9, 10 hours a day, 5 days a week, 6 days a week, it only can, I think, change how you are as an actual person.
But you start acting like that's how you have to be.
Well, of course,
because that's what people recognize you when they, you know, praise you and they applaud you when you're that.
Brian.
And then when you go and be your normal guy, you worry that they're not going to like you as much.
Brian, you are arguably one of the nicest people I know. You are an incredibly nice, kind person. If you had to act like a total douchebag for 8 or 9 hours a day, Brian, that I talk to off the air, would become a douchebag, just because when you do it 9 hours a day, it changes. It just changes. It changes you. There's just no way it can't. Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, and to be able to play that character that long, like, you have to think like that.
Oh, absolutely. It's a mindset.
You can't be like, you can't be constantly say, well, okay, how am I going to sound like this guy? You just got to you got to become that guy and just become that kind of an actor in a way. And so I think that, you know, when you started seeing him, you started seeing videos. I mean, I don't know how much you want to get into this, but like, there was a video that really kind of hit some of this off and started making people wonder about him cheating. There's this guy called Burger Planet. I don't know if you've ever heard of him.
I'm familiar with Burger Planet. Yeah.
So Burger Planet, he was at a TwitchCon event, and he's like, I mean, I just can't stand.
He's a live cat.
Honestly,
he's like Ice Poseidon.
Yeah, but I don't know. I have a trouble with a lot of these guys. They're like going for cringe.
Yeah.
There's guys that can't help but cringe, right? They can't not. And it's not because they're trying to. It's just, but with him, I can't figure out if he's really that cringy, or if he's like actually playing a character well enough.
No, he's nuts.
To where
he's a lunatic.
I kind of get the idea that he's just like that. He's just like an idiot. I mean, honestly, you know what I'm saying? Like, you watch him and it's just like, is this guy real? Is he for real? Like, is he really this douchey, or is he like playing it up for the character?
No, I think,
because I think Ice Poseidon like plays it up.
He does.
He probably is kind of normal off the screen, and I gather that from him.
I don't think
when the camera's on,
as PH says, we're going down this rabbit hole. We might as well. We've got an extra 40 minutes to talk today, unlike usual. I think Ice is an actual, like, he's a real screwball, but you can tell based on the preparation and the planning that go into some of his things that he's
serious about it.
He's got some business sense about him.
Yeah.
Like, even that stupid fail of a party that he threw, he had the entire thing stocked.
With like 2 girls.
Yeah, but he had the whole thing. There was a whole bunch of alcohol there beforehand. There was lights. There was a DJ. Like, there was some planning that went in. It wasn't the best, but it wasn't. There was some planning. There was some business sense that went into it. But nevertheless, and to clarify this, because PH is correcting us, DrDisrespect broke the individual streamer record. I misstated that. 387,000 concurrent viewers for a individual streamer. The E-League,
not like an event like
E-League, which had 1 million concurrent viewers, and a CS:GO major that had 890,000.
Yep.
So the concurrent, which is nuts. Either way, so he broke that, and he's back. I didn't have a chance to watch.
Anyways, I stopped halfway through my thing, but
Yes.
Burger Planet. So he
back to him, of course.
Sorry, he was at this event, and he's just constantly all he cares about is getting the camera on certain people and like getting them in the shot and being like, "Hey, look, I'm next to this person."
It did that with Jericho.
And he's just going up to people. Yeah, I mean, he just walks up to people and he makes stupid small talk and is like, "Hey, you want to go hang out? You want to go do this? Hey, can I get your number?" Just like the kind of thing that when a guy comes up to you and he acts like that, you're just like, "Dude, just can you give me some space?" Like, honestly, you don't want to be rude, but he's just, he comes off like that. And so he's doing that to where he just keeps coming up to Guy, just nonstop. And there's this girl that he's really close to, like he's talking very close to, and you can tell he's flirting with her. But then Burger Planet keeps coming up to him and like putting the camera on both of them. And I think there's a point where Guy, DrDisrespect, realizes, I'm on a live stream and I'm sitting there like getting really close to this girl who's some Instagram, is what Instagram model, even though I don't know. I guess if you take pictures of yourself and people look at them, you're a model, right?
Yeah.
So she's some Instagram model.
But nothing wrong with Instagram models, Brian. Get with the times.
Whatever.
My man. Get with the times.
And so he, after a point, which I understood, but you could kind of tell, you kind of saw the second that like it clicked in his head, oh, this is going to be on the internet here. And I'm like right up next to this girl. And then he says, "Oh, get away from me. I don't want you around me. Get the camera off me." And he kind of turns and starts yelling at the guy. And, you could think if you saw just that clip of him yelling at him, you could understand, oh, just the guy's in his face. He wants to get him away. But then I went and found the original video where it shows all coming up to that.
Yeah. How
DrDisrespect was being around this girl. And I was like, okay, that's one of the girls. And so then I looked at it a little bit more, and there was actually, she had a comment that she put on Twitter as well when he made his announcement, like said, "What about me?" And like just some passing tweet. And so I think personally, she is one of the girls. I'm not going to say her name, but
it may be the case. So yeah.
So anyway, so that I think that whole thing, like it just blew up. And I don't know what this has to do with really anything. But,
neither do I.
But hey, but that's the thing is he's going to be changing how he deals with these things. His wife is going to be coming with him. And I think he's realized that, for him, what really matters is his daughter and his family, his wife.
Well, and money.
And those girls will come and go. And money, and money. But the thing is those girls will come and go. He could have hushed it though. He didn't have to bring it out. He didn't have to make it public. He could have, okay, let's look at this.
Oh, jeez.
Boogie, the Boogie who
2983 lost had his surgery, lost like 140
lost
pounds.
all this weight. He recently announced that he and his wife got divorced. They got divorced a while ago.
Yes.
He didn't say anything, but then he announced it. It was something to where he let the divorce happen, was quiet about it, didn't tell the stream, didn't do a single thing differently. And then when he felt when both of them, where they're in their own places and both comfortable with it, and he had, the yes from the spouse, he then announced it to the world.
Correct.
Same thing happened with Summit. Summit was divorced for 1.5 years before he told his stream. 1.5 years. He didn't say a single word. And then he says, "Hey guys, I got to be honest with you." And then he broke it to a stream. He could have done the exact same thing. Is he could have just said, if those living that life and those girls at those events and just being that person was more important to him, he could have said, "You know what? I'm living the life right now." And, he's in his 40s, right? This is his last chance at this kind of lifestyle, if that's what he wanted to go for, right? Honestly,
Detective Brian. Yeah.
this is his last stand. If he wanted to go down that road, he could have said, all right, in midlife crisis, I'm going to go and do that. And, I think he personally made the right decision, because I think that would be very unfulfilling in the long run. And then he'd turn around, he'd be 50, he'd be divorced. He wouldn't have full time with his daughter, and he'd be regretting it. Thank you for putting the detective tap for the people that are listening on me. But that is something that I think 5-10 years from now, he turn around and realize that he made the biggest mistake of his life. And I think that him answering it in this way, keeping his family together, I think that 10 years from now, he's going to be much happier. So
yeah,
that's that's my input on what I gather from the whole situation.
Well, nevertheless, he's back. He's going to be making more money than ever. The hype is real. All this.
He had 70-something thousand people all day.
Yeah,
like throughout the whole day.
Yeah.
At one time, he always had 70-something thousand people in his room.
He will. He will be very successful with this venture. So I wish him luck. I mean, good for him.
He updated his graphics. Deadmau5. He had his intro. He had a new intro made by Deadmau5. He had all new intro graphics made. Pretty impressive intro. Some new graphics. I mean, we'll see with this new. It's going to be exactly the same as Slick Daddy Club. It's just named something differently. He's not doing gin and tonics anymore. He doesn't say that anymore.
It's unfortunate.
So, yeah. So he changed up a few things, but other than that, I think it's going to be pretty much the exact same, because that formula's worked for him.
No, and it's a successful successful formula. All right. Let's get into some news here. We're about half an hour to the program. We do have a lot of stuff to cover, but I think this is interesting because these streamers, like it or not, drive what is popular and what's not. And I know this is the Twitch drama, if you want to call it that. But in a large respect, I think you can look at some of the PUBG success and not say all of it, but a chunk of it. You've got to give credit to streamers like Summit and DrDisrespect, who very, very early on, and of course ourselves, very early on, we're championing this game, and we had this mass exodus.
They drive players to it.
Look at the mass exodus from H1Z1. Literally, Brian, flip of a coin, everybody leaves H1Z1 and everybody starts playing PUBG. And that
because the top whatever streamers. See, the thing is, these top streamers, they look at it like a business, 100% like a business. And they look at the numbers and they're saying, when I'm playing H1Z1, if these other guys are playing this game, people are going to go and watch that game.
Yeah.
And so all of them move at once, because if one person goes and plays the cool game and then these other guys are sticking around on H1Z1, then all those, all the mass of the viewers are going to go over there. So that's why they seem to move in a pack, but they're going because, okay, Summit's over there, Doctor's over there, whatever the next couple top streamers are, they're like, well, we got to be over the two so we can spread those views between us. So everyone's just not watching them. And I've got 100 people here wanting to watch H1Z1, which everybody's been streaming for the past year.
Exactly.
So, I mean, because it happened in that week. Like there was a week where then all of a sudden the name of H1Z1 was Mud. Like everybody all of a sudden was like, we don't play H1Z1 anymore. We're playing PUBG in 1 week's turnaround. It was pretty crazy. It was.
So the reason I think we're talking about this stuff is because it does act in retrospect. It really does affect what is played, what is popular, what is the game of the hour. It is in some large respect, I think, captured and decided by the top 10, top 15 streamers on Twitch. I mean, you look at a game like League, you go on Twitch anytime. Most of the time the top channel is streaming League or something similar to League or PUBG. So that's just what kind of drives the narrative, what people want to play. So there you go. That's
so what about IRL though? Like you look at Ice Poseidon, which you've been watching lately.
Yeah.
He can't be on Twitch.
No.
Do you think that Twitch is going to relax their rules a little bit?
They're not. They don't want him on
to allow them back in, or do you think Twitch is okay with? I mean, because a lot of people are.
I mean, I can go into this.
Are starting to go to YouTube.
Here's the thing. I can get into this and you can talk about the hypocrisy of Twitch. I mean, they have practically naked women on Twitch. That's okay. But somebody like
streamers are okay.
But somebody like, but Brian, we're talking about body painting on Twitch. I mean, a completely nude woman.
Yeah.
But Ice Poseidon, you know, walking around the streets of Sacramento or LA or the UCLA campus and making you know, racist jokes and anti-Semitic jokes that everybody's so offended by is the work of the devil. So Twitch has got a serious problem on their hands, I think, and so does YouTube with their demonetization and all this other BS that they're doing. I don't know what's going to happen with IRL. But
I mean, look, I've noticed the trend that going to YouTube and people just making donations directly to the people. I mean,
yes,
you go onto YouTube, people are tossing money into there.
You can do that.
And I hear a lot of the IRL people saying they're making more money on YouTube because YouTube doesn't take half the money. That's the issue with Twitch. They take pretty much half the money that you receive.
Yes, they do.
When it's coming in. And so they go to YouTube, and just getting those donations on the side that people just can donate and it's not really intrusive. They say they're making more money in the end on that anyways.
Yeah.
With less restrictions.
No, and I think YouTube can try to capture some of that live stream people, but I mean, just going through the IRL section of Twitch, I mean, it's a real shame what they've done to the site. But nevertheless,
well, people post in our Discord pictures of
it's nuts.
Different things that are happening on the IRL section, and it's just
crazy.
ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the old days of Stickam. I mean, it's literally like what Stickam used to be.
There was this girl that was playing a video game, but the thing is, I don't remember. I think you could see the video game in the corner of the screen.
Yes, I know who you're talking
right?
about.
And then she's leaning as far forward as she can and keeps positioning her shirt to try to make it so she's right on the edge of showing something, right? But not quite. I just was like, what in the world? Like, they're letting this happen to where she's sitting there and getting as close to flashing as she possibly can. And like just skirting that line constantly. And that's acceptable now.
But Ice Poseidon makes a joke about Jewish people, and he is the devil. I mean, it's just it's the comparison that what is okay.
What do you consider bad? You know,
well, I mean, it's a valid question.
It's corrupting people, but they're both corrupting people in different ways.
Absolutely.
They're just accepting of one more than the other. So I don't know. Anyways, it's just Twitch is, I don't know. I'm not saying YouTube is a strong contender, but I think YouTube is going to start pulling the more edgy content, which I think people are going to be, and not the more boob content, but the more edgy content that people are more interested in. That's more entertaining.
Yeah, I like edgy content.
I think they're going to pull those people, and I think that it's going to pretty much kill the real IRL that people were actually coming here for originally. And you're going to just end up with, as we see, a bunch of booby streamers sitting there, and which you're not allowed to talk about. Like, I've seen people getting banned on Twitter for just pointing out that there's so many booby streamers now. I mean, I'm not worried that we're going to get banned. I'm sure we could do this somehow on YouTube, but
yeah, whatever.
You know what I'm saying?
What? Oh God, my Tuesday night's back. Jesus, kill me! This would be the worst thing in the world.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the issue is people are getting banned for just even mentioning and pointing out that this is happening.
Yeah,
Twitch is banning people. It's like they're not doing anything wrong. All they're doing is saying, and they're saying, "Oh, but you're demeaning those women." No, they're demeaning themselves. You're not demeaning them by pointing out that they're doing something. They're demeaning themselves by flashing their boobs, which is totally against the whole SJW thing, right? Anyways, like where's the line? Like, you're supposed to say women are
objectification. I mean,
they're like, okay, well, we can objectify women because then they have the power, but aren't we supposed to not objectify them? Like, if you're a feminist, I'm lost. I don't know where the line is anymore.
I don't want to touch that.
Which side are you on?
Anyways, I don't want to touch that. We like to keep that stuff out of the unlike all these other gamers, we like to keep this stuff out of the conversation because who cares at the end of the day. Yeah. But
it's interesting though.
But here we go. PUBG, Brian. And no, in all seriousness, yes. I think this is a very interesting conversation. This is good post-show material right here. Or a good bonus show material with a potential service. Yeah, who knows? So we got some anti-cheat stuff here from PUBG. They go through this whole long post about how they deeply sympathize with the inconvenience that our players are experiencing due to cheat. I love how they call it cheat programs. with these cheaters. So what they've done is they've established a dedicated team to focus on combating cheats. I would assume something like that was already in place, but I guess not.
More than the one guy at Daybreak?
Yeah, the guy that just runs this exe on his this command prompt window that bans people. So they've got a dedicated team now. Their new anti-cheat solution internally, which I don't know if that necessarily means them moving away from BattleEye, or maybe
I think they're doing both.
I think they're probably doing both as well. Obviously, BattleEye is kind of the gold standard, or BattleEye and Punkbuster and not Easy Energy. That one's kind of junk. But BattleEye and
it used to be
what's the one that Battlefield uses? Punkbuster. Those are kind of the ones that kind of rise to the top there. So what they're going to be doing is they're going to be putting this new solution on their server, on the live servers next week. And what it's essentially doing is it's blocking hooks into the program for things like, Brian, this is going to affect you a little bit, reshade. It's going to be blocking the way that graphics can be aided and modified, because the argument, the argument,
you knew you were going to leave that eventually.
I'm sorry. I totally lost my train of thought. Thanks, PH. The graphics, it changed the way the game looks, different thing. When they allow you to manipulate parts of the game, it can be obviously used and modified.
It's hard for them to detect which is legitimate, which is not. And my tip of the week is going to be regarding that exact topic. So,
well, perfect.
But that's the thing is it's really hard for them to be able to detect this, because, as I said, a hook. Something is attaching itself to the exe and manipulating what you see. So you look at a program like Reshade that is adjusting how the screen looks, maybe the coloring, actually changing the way that it displays. Well, you could take that exact same program, but then instead of doing that, you could be having it put an overlay for ESP over the top of the display. And then all of a sudden, like, how do they know? Like, if you disguise it to look like Reshade or have the same names as Reshade, how do you know that it's not Reshade? Right?
Well,
it's manipulating the screen in the same way.
And what they say is that some programs that do not affect gameplay may be blocked temporarily, which I'm reading between the lines, thinking that is Reshade, as they say, as they hone into the new anti-cheat measures. So right now they're starting with like no tolerance. Anything that modifies or hooks or transforms game files is going to be blocked as a cheat. And then they will hopefully slowly be able to, as they dial in, tune that back so that obviously they would want people to use Reshade. I think eventually that would be the goal.
I think they want to make it to where their graphics aren't so bad, to where the options are inside. Because I don't know why they wouldn't just, whatever Reshade's doing, implement something like that into the game itself, to where you can tweak them yourself. Like, people are only using a couple of the plugins pretty consistently with Reshade on this game to brighten it up. Like, why don't you just incorporate that to where you can set the vibrance, and you can, they could do that. Like, they have the money. I mean, that's not an issue. They have, they can figure out what Reshade's doing and duplicate it in a way that would not need that.
No, absolutely.
And another thing that, they put on here that they're not allowing people to use the account sharing. So that's the Steam family sharing type of a thing with the game anymore. And that is because when they do a ban on a family share account, it actually bans the account of the person that doesn't have the game. So you can keep creating accounts and doing a family share on that. It will keep banning that new fresh account every single time. So people can keep using the same account and they're not actually getting the original PUBG ban. Which is interesting. Which is a big problem.
Oh, it's a huge problem.
It means that people can not have to sit there. Usually when you think they get banned, that they keep buying license keys. If they're doing that, they don't ever lose that license key. Like, they never have to rebuy. They're just having temp throwaway accounts keep getting banned. So it's definitely a problem.
It's a huge problem.
Hole in their system.
A couple of other things that they're doing in this one is they've greatly upgraded their in-game reporting feature. That it will actually, before I was of the opinion that in-game report really wasn't doing anything.
Mhm.
That's just my personal opinion. But they say now that it's going to accurately verify cheat activity. It's going to be faster, more accurate. And now you'll be able to use this function. And they do note again that when watching a replay, sometimes replay footage and actual gameplay may differ, which is tough. They're going to have to figure that out because there are probably tens of thousands of false reports due to replays looking extremely buggy, and that's not the fault of anybody. It's the fact that when you see
happens in Call of Duty too.
Yeah, I mean, you see a replay of somebody, rubber banding or
it's like they're zipping around somewhere, and you're like, well, how are they doing that? Speed hacking? No, it's just that's what the server saw.
Yeah, and that may be a bug. I mean, obviously they'll have to figure that out. File modifications. They say if you tamper with the game files, your game access will be blocked, especially if you delete, modify, or manipulate in any way a file affecting the game system and the mechanics, so that it'll just block you from playing. And then they announced, of course, the account sharing thing that Brian just talked about. So we said this many moons ago, Brian. If there was going to be one game, one publisher, one group that was going to deal with cheaters and hackers, it was going to be PUBG. We've said this for forever now. And it finally appears that
And we said if they didn't. The thing is, we said also, if they couldn't get a handle on it, it was going to be the downfall of their game.
And nobody
could. Would end up just the same as H1Z1, and and people would stop playing. And so I think that they are taking it as seriously as I hope they would.
Well, that
was what I was hoping, is that they wouldn't let it run rampant. I mean, it ran rampant, but obviously they've been working on something, because this doesn't happen in a week. Right?
No,
they've been working on it the last couple months.
So they've got the money, they've got the capital, they've got the resources, they've got the people, they've got the idea, they've got all of that stuff. So now let's see if they can pull it off. From all of the looks, all of the from what I'm reading, that's all I have right now is what I'm reading. It appears to me that they will be the game that deals with and sets the standard for how you deal with cheaters going forward.
Okay, so here was a tweet from BattleEye this past week.
Yep,
this happened
over the weekend,
2 days ago.
Sunday.
They said we banned over 1,044,000 PUBG cheaters in January alone, and it says unfortunately things continue to escalate. So this, I mean, just the fact that in January alone, they had 1 million sales. I mean, that's 1 million sales that they were able to make. That's ridiculous. That's a huge amount of money.
Is this your alt account, Darren Jenkins? What percentage is from China?
No, not me.
That's not your alt?
That wasn't me.
No, that's unfortunate.
They are thinking like I would. And so that's the thing on there is, I think in the last 2 months, since they started turning on all these things, in December, they had like 1.4 million total that it had done. And then in January alone, it did 1.04 million in January alone. So that's a huge difference, a huge uptick in the number of bans that they've been able to do. But that's so crazy in the numbers. How many millions have they sold? You remember how many millions actual copies they've sold?
I don't off the top of my head. I can find it.
So the PUBG total sales, and let's see,
29, almost 30
in December
million.
They broke 3 million. So 1 out of every 3 players is cheating.
Well, there's 30 million owners.
Okay. Finally broke 3 million concurrent. Okay.
Yeah, so 30 million owners.
Hit 30 million players.
So 3%.
So yeah. So
in December.
Still. Yeah, well, no, that'd be 1 out of 30. So that'd be a different number, but it'd be 1/3 times 10, whatever that is.
1/3 times 10 would be 3%. 1/3, that would be 3%.
Yeah, so it'd be 0.3. Yeah, 0.33. Right. So that's a lot of. That's 1 million players just in that 1 month.
Yeah,
that's still a huge number. That's what, $29 each.
No,
$29 million worth of sales.
Isn't the game $40? Maybe
I think when we got it was $29.99.
Let's see. The game is No, you're correct. Yeah, $30.
So $29.99 times what? So it's $30 million almost.
If all of the
About $30 million.
You're saying if all those cheaters repurchase.
If everybody bought them at retail, yeah. If everybody bought it at retail, that's $30 million that they got from those cheaters.
Yes.
Just in
and then
purchases.
Ideally, well, not ideally, but there's a chance that some of those cheaters have this is multiple purchases. We did actually hear from,
or how much of them is the family sharing account? If they're using that family share,
that's true.
Hack, how many accounts is this really affecting?
It could be half.
The same people just doing it over and over again.
It absolutely could be the case. I did hear from Kramit last week that he was unable to get through to somebody at PUBG Bluehole, and
I mean, when they're doing 1 million bans in a month, I mean that's
so he
just a fish in the pond.
He just went ahead and purchased another game on a different Steam account. That was his solution to the problem. He may be unbanned eventually, but
they're dealing with so many numbers, it's hard to get noticed.
Well, it's tough. I mean, you know, quality assurance is important. But I mean, I don't know how you deal with.
I'm sure you have half those people saying, "Oh, I didn't do it," and then how do you follow that up and really verify on 500,000 people?
It's very, very tough, and there's no perfect solution. I'm not excusing or you know, I'm not a PUBG apologist. But you've got to, I mean, you've got to ask yourself, how do you deal with this stuff?
Well, I mean, we've got Firebomb who had his account stolen, you know, username and password were leaked, and like he's dealing with his Amazon account being stolen.
Yeah.
Like it got taken from him today. Like the answer is you have to use different passwords. You have to use two-step authenticators like we talked about last week. Like you have to take all these steps to protect yourself, because there's people that all they're trying to do is get accounts to do whatever they want with. And like in games, people are just stealing accounts for games like this to be able to sell them for people to hack on them for a period of time till you notice or till they get banned. And then your account's banned, and then you run into what Kramit did. You know, you lose your account, they're out nothing. Like they don't care that your account got banned. The hackers, you know, they're just, it's like a burner cell phone. They're using it and then they're going to toss it and they don't care. But you've lost, like for me, if I got a VAC ban on my account because I was running Reshade, you know, not that they VAC ban, but you know what I'm saying? Like some stupid thing, like I'm running it and I get banned like that. This is my one Steam account that I've had for 12 years or something like that. Right. That would suck. I've got all those games, all that's tainted. Every time someone goes and looks at my account, it says, you know, this person was VAC banned. It's important to protect your stuff if you actually care about keeping it. If you don't care about keeping it, then, you know, use the same password everywhere. Don't put your mobile authenticator and things like that on there. But if you do care, like you need to do that, because it's becoming a pretty big problem. And somehow they're getting these accounts. Like, you know, I can't say here's the guaranteed way they're doing it, but if you use the same password in two places, there's lists out there on the internet that have username and passwords. One thing, you know, the what's the Equifax thing?
Yeah.
I think personally, like Lauren and I have had accounts opened up in our names from that, multiple in this past year. Like people are pulling credit out in our names.
Yeah.
All across the country.
And you'll be part of that class
action.
And
there's nothing we can do about it. Like that's actually out of my hands. Like other than me locking down my credit, there's nothing I can do. You know, but your accounts, like on your Steam, all that stuff, you have total control over. Like you're not helpless in that. Just take care of it. Go, you know, put the protections on your account that you can.
Yep. You know, you have the choice. It's all in your hands. So, that's pretty big news with PUBG. Now you've got this image that you've got labeled busy on here.
Yeah. So I actually went to go log into the game to check it out, and that was what the screen that I was welcomed with. So it says servers are too busy. Please try again later. And so I was just kind of surprised. I'd never seen that before, but you know, I mean, they're getting enough people. I guess that's I reconnected and then it went away. But I thought that was kind of interesting. That was a new screen that I had never seen before.
Yeah, so, which is an issue, but I guess it's
it didn't last for all day. Like it was something you refresh. They must spin up servers. You know, they can't instantly have a huge amount of access. They don't want to keep an extra million slots at all times open for people to log in. You know, that's a huge waste of money. So it's got to be something like that happens. It's like, oh, you know, we run out, we're spinning up a server. If you wait another 10 seconds, it probably is up at that point.
Yeah.
So,
all right. Moving on over to some H1Z1. We've got something that was supposed to be done and talked about in July of 2015 was web leaderboards. The ability to go online and look at your ranks, your kills, your what matches that you won, the whole deal. This is what they talked about. This in July of 2015 was when this was going to be set up, playing. It was going to coincide with the in-game leaderboards in the old main lobby. It was going to be this whole thing. And since then, we really haven't heard anything about the web leaderboards. There's online rankings for the leagues, but this is what they've got now is what they're calling My H1Z1. And it's my.h1z1.com/now. And this is their now section, which is just kind of showing things that are going on right now, kind of like a now feed. And then if you scroll over to the leaderboards tab, you can see what's going on with leaders. You can see all the people that are ranking. You can search for yourself. You can sort by total score, lowest score, a whole bunch of different things that you can sort and search by. So interesting.
They still like it's crazy. These people that just have thousands of kills.
Yeah, it's nuts.
You know, I mean, I don't know. One thing they have is top match kills, and for the daily leaderboards, the top match kills is 22, which I wonder if there's a cutoff because I know that there's probably matches that are happening that there's 40 something kills, because we were seeing that all day long. Whenever you see the hackers, like they're getting 40 kill games. And so I think it's weird that the top solo for the day is a 22 kill. Like I wonder if if they're taking that list and actually not displaying above a certain number, or they're actually banning people kind of based off these lists now, like we had mentioned months and months or a year ago.
Yeah,
that they should do, because I don't see we were seeing before like 46 kill games, 40 kill games, just ridiculous number of kills. And now you're just seeing a max of a 22 kill game in a day. So I don't know. I mean, either they've cut out the hackers enough for that much to where they're not getting that many kills anymore, or they're somehow banning them, not displaying them. But I don't know that I believe that there wasn't over a 22 kill game in a day in H1Z1 the whole day.
Yeah. So
you're telling me that not a single cheater went and shot everybody, half the people on the map?
No,
the whole day.
No, obviously not. So with the H1Z1 site, there's the activity feed, which is going to display a message for the winners of each match that's played. There's going to be daily leaderboards, seasonal leaderboards. You can do a match outcome search, which allow you to search and filter for all the preseason matches, at match outcome details. There's just going to be a whole bunch of really cool stuff on here. Some may argue a day late and a dollar short. But nevertheless, it's here. It's much later than what we were originally told. Significantly, like multiple years later, at least 2 years later than what we were told. But it's here now, so you can go check it out. It's my.h1z1.com, and then once you go there, it defaults you to the now page. You can click on leaderboards, look at match outcomes, and see the whole thing.
Seems like they're really taking the focus away from the season leaderboards, because before you had those season numbers of here's the top people all season long, and this is really focusing on today, only today.
And I'll give them credit. This actually is pretty cool. The match outcome report. This is just an individual match, and you can see this guy that won had 4 kills, and you can see who was killed, who they were killed by, and when you click on them, it'll tell you some more details about them individually. But yeah, pretty cool. So there you go.
I wonder if in those games, if you would see people like hackers, like if those aren't showing on the day, if I wonder if someone gets banned, if they take them out of that. You know what I'm saying? Like that has all the round stuff. I was wondering
no, I don't think
if
they
someone gets
can.
banned, because they wouldn't keep them in the leaderboards.
So they wouldn't be in the leaderboards, but they've got to stay in the match summary because you'd have gaps in your match summary. People would die and you wouldn't.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. Either you'll see gaps or you'll see high kills in there. So that'd be interesting to kind of browse through some of the different ones and see if you can detect those.
I would imagine you'd see a high kill maybe next to their name after the fact. It would have some type of like maybe an exclamation mark or something like that indicates like, hey, this person was banned or something like that. But I don't think they think they can just go through and delete names. That would cause a huge break of the chain of what's going on.
So like here's a guy who breaks the norm. If you go to let's see. I just saw like solos preseason 7 North America, and if you search by number? Yeah, search by number 1929.
Solo, hold on. Match outcome. Yeah, what number?
So just solos. So you're looking up players. His number is 199. I can actually put a link in here if you want.
Yeah, name 1929.
But 1929. Well, his name is Twitch TV Fluffy J.
Okay.
So if you look at they have on there a win rate and the top 10 finish rate. And you look at a player like that and the players that are next to him, he has almost an 18.18% win rate. He has a 54.55% top 10 rate. Everyone else around him has like a 1.27% win rate, a 0.64% win rate. Their top 10 finish rates are like 3.53%, 6% is the range. And he's at 54.55% for his top 10 finish. That's the kind of thing, as you look at a player like that, he doesn't fit. He's way out of the norms for his ranking. And so you look at that, well, why is he? That's the kind of person you'd want to look at and see, well, are they hacking? Because obviously that doesn't make sense. He's so far out of the norms. How is he getting almost a 20% win rate with his ranking? When everyone else is getting a 1%.
It's a very good question. So, I mean, I don't know.
So, I mean, that's the thing is looking through there, that'd be interesting. You go look at some of his past games and see, if he gets banned eventually. I mean, you could watch one player and then see where they disappear from.
I mean, there's a whole bunch of players in here that have got 30 or 40% win rates. Royalty 5, that's high, but Platinum with a 25% win rate is a lot.
Do you think that's legitimate?
I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, that's the thing, is it's just crazy that in Royalty, which is pretty competitive, that you're getting that high. I mean, there's all these other people that are like, it's just, you can look at the graph and it's like, there's certain ones that stand out. Is it because they're that much better? Or is it because there's another factor in there?
Who knows?
And usually when there's an outlier, there's another factor.
Well, they're going to have
that's what you learn in statistics class.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're going to have to figure this out. They're going to, they can't have, like before in the leaderboards, you used to look and the top 20 names were QQ and then numbers, which were coincided with chat rooms on the chat service QQ that were selling or sharing cheats and hacks or whatever. Now they've really got to clear this up, because now they've got this full public interfacing thing that you can see every game, every match, every anything. And it's just publicly accessible. So
it makes it really easy to see these oddities too. Like,
absolutely.
People look and say, well, because they're using graphs, they're not just using numbers, and you look and it's like, okay, why is this one way different than all the rest? They're using little measure bars and things like that. And that really makes those stand out. So it'll be interesting to see, because I think when they originally posted some sort of a leaderboard, people looked at it and they're like, well, why are these people getting like 50 kill games? All the top 10 players are getting 50 kill games, and it's obviously they're cheating. They're killing half of the players on the map somehow.
Yeah, exactly.
And that made them actually have to acknowledge, okay, well, we have a cheater problem. I think there's still a cheater problem, but I think definitely the numbers are down, because you're looking at these and it's 1 out of every, 15 names versus how before it was like half the players that were on the leaderboards there were having kind of odd looking games. So yeah, I think they're in the right direction, but they're not taking it as seriously as PUBG is.
No, absolutely not.
And I don't think they'll ever get it locked down to that point.
No, neither do I. And I don't necessarily expect them to either. I think what PUBG is doing is a very serious undertaking.
Well, I hope that it makes a positive influence on the gaming genre in general. Like if they can figure it out and they can come up with some truly intuitive ways to cut down on cheating, then they'll be able to roll that over into other games to help cut it down as well. I'm sure if they come up with something that they find really works, they're not going to say, all right, we're not going to tell anybody. I mean, they may want to, but eventually that's going to be something that's going to be replicated, maybe even to other blue hole games. Like it's going to move on from PUBG, and I hope that they do, because I think that that is really the issue with our gaming right now online, is just how most games lately have been unable to stop cheaters in any way.
Yeah, very
It's
true.
really been killing the desire for a lot of people to go play.
It has, and it's arguably the toughest thing that it's the toughest thing to deal with. I mean, it's an expensive process. Expensive, and not just cost, but manpower and time. It's just a very, very very expensive thing to do. We've got a video, Brian, for H1Z1, which we don't get these very often. So this is a little 2-minute video for their February developer update. So we'll roll the video and then we'll come back and talk about some of the changes. And again, this is for H1Z1, previously King of the Kill. So this is the action arcade
Not
shooter.
just survive.
Exactly. So we'll roll this and then we'll be right back.
What's up, my dudes? Game Dev Carto here. We've got some great updates this week that we know players have been asking for, so let's get to it. In case you missed it, we recently tweaked all of our weapons to make them feel more consistent and more competitive. The AR now has a horizontal recoil pattern, similar to how it was in Preseason 3. The AK now has a semi-auto fire mode to make it a better threat at long distance. The sniper has a shorter zoom and it is much snappier than before. The SMG has had damage fall off added, so it's a little bit less effective at long range. The Magnum's damage has been increased greatly against vehicles, back to the values from Preseason 3. The shotgun spread has been tightened and the damage fall off has been extended to make it consistently fatal. To lessen the effectiveness of strafing, we've added a limit to character movement after mouse strafing back and forth a set number of times. We've updated airdrops so that more will drop throughout the match. Airdrops will also set off a special flare when opened for the first time. Airdrops are now the only place you can find a laminated armor, as the rest have been removed from the world. Spamming grenades has been proven to be a bit too easy in H1, so we've added a timer to limit how often they can be used against you. We're also adding some grenade outplay mechanics, like having smoke grenades put out at fire from a molly. Interior and exterior gunshots will sound different from each other, making it easier to identify where other players are located. In order to support these changes, we've also recorded new weapon audio based off their real-life counterparts. Players will now stand more upright and keep their elbows tucked in to limit your character's silhouette and reduce your chance to get hit by opposing gunfire. I want to thank everyone for all the feedback and hours you guys put in on the test server. We're looking forward to building H1 with you, the community, as we push on into the future.
All right. Well, there's some big stuff in there. There's some big stuff. There's some big things in there. I think the biggest one. I'm sorry, what did you say?
And you said, my dudes. That's how you introed the video.
Yeah, hey, my dude. I think the biggest thing in there, obviously the weapon changes, all that stuff. They've done that a million times. The fact that
well, half the things went back to ENA, or went back to season 3.
The fact that now your arms and your elbows and your silhouettes will be a little bit tighter, so that when you're standing behind a tree and somehow magically you're still getting shot, even though you're standing behind a tree.
They're hitting the tip of your elbow and it's killing you.
It's killing you. That in itself, I think, is the largest thing in that update. I mean, that,
I don't know. For some players, it'll be that ENAS thing though, because for people that are listening, what it does is because there's certain players. I mean, there's certain people that really take advantage of it, and it's almost impossible to shoot them because they're just going back and forth so fast. So what happens is after they've done that snake pattern a few times, they've weaved back and forth, it slows down their walking speed and it kind of makes them go at what, 3/4 speed.
Something.
I mean, it seemed like it wasn't quite half. It was about 3/4 speed that they then are slowed down to where they can no longer weave back and forth so quickly. So you'll be able to shoot them. So I think that I don't know if that's the best way, but it definitely will help. So they'll get just a couple seconds of being able to do that weave. And so if you can save from dying, I think the problem is when someone's doing that weave and they're coming from far away, like you don't have the ability to shoot them, and then they're right on you and they shoot you with a shotgun. That's what they're trying to avoid, so that there's not, because those are the most frustrating, is when like I couldn't shoot that person. They came from, some building far away from me. So I think that it's going to solve that problem, but people will still be able to do ENAS for short bursts of time. I'm sure people will master that exact limit and take it right to the edge. So
of course
you won't be able to stop that. I mean, it's just how people play.
Well, this is a good break here before we switch over to Just Survive, I guess, to announce a game giveaway here, Brian.
Yes. If you do ! Giveaway in chat, and what we're going to be doing is we'll be giving away a copy of Psychonauts.
Oh, okay.
And Psychonauts is a platformer comedy adventure cult classic. So this has, for recent reviews, it is very positive, and for the all reviews, it's overwhelmingly positive. So this is a really good game. It's one that came out in 2005, but that's back when they actually put a lot of content in the games. Like it's interesting. There's puzzles and there's interesting story along the whole way. It's not just a run around here and gather this and do that. So, but yeah, this is Psychonauts, a really good platformer game. It is a lot of fun. And so ! Giveaway, and you can enter yourself to win that. So,
absolutely.
It's a single player game, by the way. And it does have partial controller support. So you could probably play this on your Steam Link if you have one.
Yeah. So obviously for that, and if you're missing out on this, you got to tune in live every Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, here on our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Infection Podcast. The way that you can get in, get entered, and have a chance to win some games, hang out in the chat, and do all of that fun stuff. All right, back to H1Z1. We've got some Just Survive stuff here. They did a lot of stuff on Just Survive this week, including an update schedule from what was the 31st through the 9th. So a couple of things that we're going to get into. I'm just going to cover what's going to happen today. So today, Tuesday the 6th, they're going to be releasing a bug fix from prior week, and initial balance changes are available. And then tomorrow, balance changes from feedback in the latest batch of bug fixes. So they released a full schedule. Most of those things have already happened, and we'll get into those now with a massive update that they did on the 30th. Last week, we didn't have a chance due to
They did it right after our show. I remember I said that hopefully they'll release this before we post.
Yes. So
and they didn't release it till later that night.
And last week we referenced a big update that we didn't have a chance to get into due to our time constraints. That was the test build. This is the live build of that. So we'll get into a little bit of it. But the long and short of it is this is an update that they say is heavily focused around the core construction and raid mechanics. And of course, with core construction, they've got their third and their final tier of building, which is stone. So we've now got wood, metal, and stone as our three construction materials for base building. You look back at all of the time that was spent on the original H1Z1, one base type, wood. That's what you built your base out of.
Yep.
Now you've got three different things to do so, plus all of the upgrade mechanics and some of the other stuff just some of the other stuff that they've added in here.
There'll be that time sink that I'm always talking about, because I mean you'll have the original time sink of getting the base built, and then you got to go and get all those resources to upgrade it to that next level and then to that next level. So it should drag out getting a full upgraded base, to where it actually takes you a bit of time, which is what people really want. People say they don't want things to take time, but games are a lot more fun when it takes time to do something. So
Oh,
should help
they
that.
absolutely do. So a couple of the things, obviously the upgrade system, you'll be able to interact with the Stronghold Hammer. That's how you upgrade things. You have to have enough resources to do the upgrade. I'm just gonna kind of read through some of the bullet points I find interesting on here. They did another update that just was posted. They just posted here about an hour ago that is massive. I don't think we'll get to that this week because I want to kind of comb through it a little bit. A massive update they did today. But I did have a chance to read through this one, so I know a couple. Unless Brian wants to read through it now and kind of pull some of that.
And that's a test update as well.
So then maybe we'll just cover that live.
If you want to wait till next week, so we actually get the live like we did with this one.
Yeah. So a couple of the big things here: they reduced the cost of the wood and metal construction components, increased hit points of metal consumption increased hit points of metal construction components. Reduce the cost of the metal shack, increase the hit points of the metal shack, which is the damage it can take before it's destroyed. That's what a hit point is. Added, as we said, the stone construction components to the game. The demo hammer has been released, renamed to the Stronghold Hammer, and then you can interact with things to upgrade your base to paint using the Stronghold Hammer. So we've got that hammer is now what you use to demo, and how you can upgrade and paint and change things around. So that's now renamed the Stronghold Hammer.
It's like your multi-tool.
Yeah, exactly. It's a good Swiss Army knife. A base foundation placement detection improved, and the base foundation objects go deeper into the ground. There was some issues with foundations, having issues with people having permissions, things spawning on them that they weren't supposed to. So hopefully they fix that. Remove ramps from...
floated in the air a little bit too.
They did. Remove ramps from 3 sides of base foundation and made the foundation rotatable during snapping. And then as they go through here, storage containers cannot be opened by players who do not have permission. Again, part of this issue with locking out near a base where you had access to do things. Storage containers now drop their loot in the loot bag on death rather than dropping the items individually. And that is what they say, a performance improvement during raiding. Instead of dropping each individual item, it drops one storage bag that everything goes into. The containers have increased hit points, so it'll take longer to destroy them. Pipe bomb has been removed. The IED has been renamed to the ethanol bomb. They've adjusted tier rankings. And then as just fixes, improvements, updates, a couple of things that they did. A couple of things that there are some updates that they know our upgrade system can now display incorrectly for the upgrading metal to white metal, green metal. That's not even a coherent sentence. And then the upgrade system does not currently work with the construction permissions. It will when it goes live. This is a live update, so I'm not sure what the deal on that is.
They must not have updated their test notes.
But yeah, so that's
they just probably left that part in.
Yep. So there you go. That's essentially the update. This is a massive update, and they've also released a player survey. So as before, if you play the game, I guess, go back and leave some feedback. It's a long survey. Fill it out accurately. If you don't play the game, don't fill it out. They say it could take 20 or 30 minutes to complete. And yeah, I'm not going to fill it out. I don't play the game. I'm not giving them any useful information by filling it out. So there's no use of doing that. So that is Just Survive for this week. And they seem full steam ahead on JS. So hopefully coming up here, they will continue with that and I don't know, maybe get that back to a playable state, which I would argue, and I think a lot of people would argue, it's not currently in a playable state.
Nope. Yeah, it's something that right now you go in there and it's just there's no longevity to it. And part of it is them figuring out the hacker thing of like if they can cut down on the hackers, because that's a game that's more of an impact for the hackers. Because when you've built up this base and done all these things and then it's instantly just destroyed, not in a legitimate way, it's really disheartening in that kind of a game where you could play a game like PUBG and you can play a game like H1Z1, King of the Kill, whatever. And if you get wiped out, you're like, I'm gonna re-queue. I'm gonna go back in and try again. And it's not really that much lost. You may not have won that individual match, but you've at least, you haven't lost anything overall. So with this, like if you're constantly losing all your stuff, you're not going to play anymore. So hopefully they do have it to where you have the ability to hold on to things longer. I mean, if you can upgrade your base, get to the metal base and all that, that will help. But if a hacker is able to destroy it, like that's what they got to stop.
Yeah.
And maybe now with it having it to be so much tougher, they'll have an easier way of detecting if a hacker's doing it, because it should take quite a bit to blow up those metal bases. I mean, it shouldn't be something that you can insta kill. So maybe they'll be able to detect it now that they have put a little bit more of a stronger base building type in there. So we'll see. Hopefully it happens. I mean, it would be fun to play. I don't know that we'll ever play it like we used to.
No,
I can't imagine us.
I don't think we will, but it'd
like
be
that.
nice to jump in there for like a hardcore couple of weeks, maybe 2 weeks, and really play it for a couple of weeks and
see what you can do. Yeah.
and enjoy it. I think that would be cool.
Yep. All right, you ready to move on to the forest?
Sure. What's going on in the forest?
They put out a patch this week. It's 0.73, and just like everyone else, everyone's jumping ship on this early access thing, and they are coming out of early access into a full 1.0 release. So they're aiming at a release date towards the end of April, and so they said as they get closer, they'll have a specific date for us. But the price is going to change. It's going to go, right now it's $14.99. It's going to go up to $19.99 once it's at full release. And so on this, they said they have a bunch of new features that they've been working on for version 1.0. And so they're going to just give an idea of what we're planning. They said that they're going to have language and controller support that's going to be approved and officially supported. Also, they're going to be adding new reasons and resources for killing the bad guys in the game. Also, they're going to be rethinking the cold and warmth system, including a new warm suit. Also, they're adding new buildables to the game. They're going to be putting in some big performance optimizations, which is probably the biggest holdback on that game right now, especially for late game saves once they get a lot of data in there. Changes and improvements to how multiplayer save games work, along with a bunch of dedicated server improvements, which we were running a dedicated server, but
what a disaster.
We couldn't really run it because there was just no support for that type of a game. There was no you couldn't kick people. There's no permission system.
It was just
like
a mess.
Anyone can go and destroy everyone else's things. So I'm assuming that they have that in mind now that they've got the performance improved enough to where they actually can have a multiplayer. I think now they're going to be looking at, okay, well, when people log in, like they've got to be separate groups unless you want them to be, and they shouldn't be able to just right click and say, destroy this on everything that you have. So yeah, I think they're working towards that. Also, they're going to be having a new system that allows you to switch outfits. So you're not always wearing the same thing. They're going to be doing some stuff with VR, which isn't a huge part of what we cover. And then they said a bunch of other things that they don't have room to include on this. So that'll be fun. It's a great game, but they kind of mentioned some of the things that are the reason that we don't really play it seriously. I mean, if they could get the multiplayer, because that's pretty much what we do, the multiplayer part of it fixed, I think that would be a lot better. So on here, they had a lot of fixes for the 0.73. They did go through and do the update and polish to cave number 5. So they've been going through, and those are kind of like, I guess, dungeons of you go through and there's usually harder zombies down there, loot that you can get, and you explore those caves. So they did the polish and were able to get the stuff done in cave number 5. And also they just, like, for multiplayer, they bumped construction material max count synced values between 65,000 or 265,000 from 2,000. That's probably some of those limitations where they had single player in mind. Maybe they had 4 players in mind, and the numbers just aren't high enough to be able to handle having a bunch of people on there. So other than that, yeah, as I said, mostly fixes. They did do some multiplayer improvements, but they just have a lot of fixes, probably about 3 to 4 pages worth of fixes in here that they have. So, and they did update, if you do play it on a regular basis, they did do some updates to the UI a little bit as well. So you notice a little bit difference in that. So we'll keep an eye on it. Once they get closer to the 1.0, maybe we'll spin up our dedicated server again and give it a try And hopefully they've got some of those things fixed to where it is a little bit more playable.
One can only hope, because I think that now
it's a fun game, but it's not multiplayer friendly.
No, it's a fun game. I appreciate this coming out of early access thing, but this game is nowhere near close to coming out of early access. So now we have screwed ourselves.
They're saying it's 1.0. They're saying it's final. Like, what games should just start going into beta. Like, beta should now be the first one.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. But here's the thing, Brian. It doesn't matter what you call it. It matters what the product is. Alpha means something.
The stigma, though, that goes along with it.
I don't care. I don't care about the stigma. This game isn't released.
But the developers, though, they felt like they didn't have to do as much, and they had an excuse for why nothing worked. Is because it's early access, and people are tired of things not working anymore.
But things still don't work. I can guarantee you can. We played The Forest not that long ago, and when we played it, it was still a freaking disaster. It was a mess. Bugs all over the place.
Things were broken.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't a good. It wasn't a bad experience, but it was nowhere near close to out of early access. So now we've gotten into what we're doing now is we're playing a word war again, where it's early access is now a bad word. You don't want to be labeled with early access the same way how Kickstarter is a bad word now. You don't want to be associated with Kickstarter because there have been so many crappy scam bad products that have come through it that you don't want to be associated. And now we're running into the exact same thing with early access. It is the exact same thing. We're not early access, but we're still an unfinished garbage game. And I'm not saying The Forest is, but I'm just saying in general, we're just an unfinished, unpolished, unfinished, broken game, but we're not in early access anymore. Which means what? Does that mean you have a better product? Because it does. I mean, this patch you read and what we've read in patches since the last time we played does not seem to indicate to me that this game is out of early access.
I'm just wondering if they've kind of given up on having or if they don't want to have a truly multiplayer game like what we know as like Ark, even Rust, these games where you can have a ton of people running around and it's efficient and like there's stuff for everybody to do. I mean, I don't think they had that in mind when they made this game. I think they had in mind you have 4 players playing together and doing something. But, people like to have bigger groups. Like for us, 4 players doesn't work.
No. We're too large for group.
We got to have more than that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think that they had that in mind, but maybe they realized that there's a desire out there to have more. And so they're kind of thinking of it after the fact. But they shouldn't be thinking of that like couple weeks before they release. Like whenever this comes out, they need to be getting the fixes in now, because they're going to have a lot of patches probably of fixing all those big changes that they do. So I don't know. I don't think in April that game is going to have enough of those things ironed out to where we can say, all right, it's done. Maybe they just want to be done with it. Like, I mean, I think it was a Kickstarter project. Maybe they're just like, well, we've delivered what we said we were going to deliver on the Kickstarter. Like, we want to be done.
I guess. I really don't know.
So, all right. So let's go ahead and do you care? The Islands of Nine. That's one that
let's do our giveaway here, and then we'll move on.
All right. So Tech Zone 707. That's our friend Sean.
Yes.
Congratulations. So it's a fun game, a really good game, casual, but it's a long game as far as how the old adventure style games used to be. It's got a lot to it with voice acting and everything else. So, all right. So Islands of Nine, this is the game that I actually kickstarted.
What is Islands of Nine? Real quick, we haven't talked about it in a while.
Yeah. So this is a game that was supposed to be the better battle royale answer to H1Z1 or King of the Kill at that time. And so they did a Kickstarter because we saw where H1Z1 was going. And so they did a Kickstarter to say, hey, let's come out with a battle royale game on Unreal Engine, that has good graphics and is just more modern technology. And they did that. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, here comes Bluehole with PUBG. And that really affected them.
Yeah.
Because they kickstarted successfully, and then all of a sudden this one game comes out that's now the BR game.
Yeah.
And so they kind of took a step back to decide, like, well, how do we answer this? Like, we don't want to release when PUBG is just being crazy. I mean, the numbers are insane. How are you going to compete with a battle royale type of a game right now? And so they kind of stepped back, and they've just been working on the game, but not trying to make a big deal of it. Like, they've been silently working, probably letting the hype for PUBG die down a little bit, which is starting to. Slowly, it's starting to die down. And this is the, I think this is the Kickstarter video that they originally did.
Yeah, that's what this is.
So 100 players. As you can see, it's got, you'll see some things that are kind of reminiscent of a PUBG. I mean, you got as far as guns. I mean, that's kind of how they work. And these modern engines, they look pretty realistic like that. But this is a game that I played it quite a bit. My favorite part was the lobby, because it's more of a Doom Quake style lobby. But yeah, I don't remember there being any cars. They didn't have that in there yet. But they've been going through and adding more weapons, getting their graphics and the map all finished up. But it's a fun game. I think they said to be available 2016. I can play it, but you guys can't play it. So I think they're going to be doing it probably in this summer to late summer. Maybe they'll make it available to people again. So, but this is Alpha Wave 15. So this is their 15th update that they've done. They did a lot of performance, weapon handling, shooting mechanics, as well as an offline training mode, so that you have the ability to practice with the different weapons and not have to be in the game learning on the fly. They added a new weapon to it, the P90, which is kind of in the same family as the UMP. Also, this is something where they said they've included on here the February 4th hotfix, as well, to consolidate the weekend's patch notes into this one. So this has the February 4th patch notes, as well as as the February 3rd patch notes. So the middle safe zone stage added to allow players more time to get to the final zone safely. So they have 3 safe zone stages instead of 2 on this one now. The pre-queue timer continues to count down when 50 player limit has been met, instead of starting the BR instantly, because it would, the second it hit that, it would start it. Now they have a countdown going. And that, a lot of that's for the late loads, because, maybe people with faster computers, faster internet connections, they're able to start going into that free fall state before you can. So this allows for you to get there and actually spawn at the same time. And then using weapons or items interrupts sprint instead of blocking actions. So, and then on the February 3rd, as I said, they added that P90 SMG. They added that training zone. Also, they had the ability to mute squad mates, maybe get in with some randoms. The recoil reset mechanic has been put in there. Weapon aim down sight animation has been added. The weapon fire animations have been added. They put in a points-based ranking system. They said that they're going to continue working on that. And then a construction site near the harbor. So, and other than that, after that, it's all improvements. But most of you guys wouldn't have played it to know what it was like in the first place. So we'll go ahead and skip that. But this is a game, I think it'll be fun. I mean, there's no hackers in it that I ran into, but that's because it's such a small closed alpha. It was kind of nice to play a game and not having people with ESPN aimbots. But it'll be interesting to see with a small development team like this, if once they release, they become popular, how will they handle it? I mean, they won't have the resources of Bluehole. It's going to be tough for anybody in these online games like this to really compete anymore against Bluehole, if Bluehole's the only one able to cut out all the cheaters.
Well, and it really, I mean, it begs the question to ask, and I don't say this ill-willed or anything, but I mean, it begs the question, is there even a point of them to continue development with this?
They kickstarted it, so I mean, they have somewhat of an obligation, right? It is a fun game. I mean, they've got to be realistic about the numbers to expect, but this maybe brought in a whole new set of people to the genre itself. So numbers-wise, it may actually benefit them, because there may be people that have played the snot out of PUBG, are burnt out on it, and here's something that's somewhat similar but different enough to hold their interest for a while. That may pull in some of those numbers. And if it can, that's enough for these guys. They're a small team. They don't need the 30 million sales to be happy. If they can get 500,000 sales, I'm sure that would be enough for them. So
who knows? You wonder with a game like PUBG that has, excuse me, that has seen success that is it's never happened. We've never seen anything like it. If you're making a game that is almost the same thing, how do you compete? Do you even try to compete?
So these guys, they went with more of kind of futuristic sci-fi type of a feel, but what's weird is it's in the environment of like medieval times.
Yeah.
So there's like, it's like they bought asset packs and they're like, well, we've got these medieval asset packs. Let's throw this down there. And then all the rest of it's like future. And so I don't know if there's more story to it that they're later going to kind of unfold in this of why you're in medieval times, but you've got like these really modern looking weapons and a space suit, like a suit that puts some sort of a protection over you and cloaks you a little bit at the same time. These are things that don't match up, but maybe they'll have more to answer to that. But when I played it, the weapon system worked really well. Like the guns are different enough. It felt a lot of fun to play, but it's not that fast. It's not that fast experience. It's a little bit slower of a pace as far as getting to the zone. And so they've got to decide, do they want to try to make it fast like PUBG or go for a little bit different of a like sneaking, a little more drawn out of a game? I don't know. I mean, I don't know if there's a right answer. I think if they come in late enough and start pulling some of those numbers, it might be worth it enough for them to kind of stick to similar type of a feel to PUBG so that they pull some of those people out. Because how long can people play PUBG every day? There's got to be a point where they say, man, I feel like playing something different.
Yeah. I would, if I had the ear of the developers, I would say try to separate yourself as much from PUBG and be a healthy alternative to PUBG with some different mechanics, some different playstyle, which from what you've described, I've obviously never played the game, which you seem to think is the case, but you don't want to, in my opinion, I could be wrong. I mean, I'm not a game developer, but what do I know? I would say you don't probably want to mirror exactly what they're doing because they're already doing it, and they're kicking everybody's ass doing it. So,
yeah, and I understand. Like they totally backed off, and I think it kind of scared them because they're like, well, how are we going to be successful in this environment?
Yeah, it's a valid question.
And I think that they've made a smart move to wait. Because if they would have released 6 months after PUBG came out, I mean that would be a problem.
I agree.
I mean, I don't think they would have gotten any sales. So I think they're waiting long enough to where maybe it'll benefit them in the end. I'm in their Discord. I haven't popped in there to see what's going on lately, but I may check and see if they've put any extra information out there as far as what their thoughts are on it. Maybe it'd be interesting to have them on the show to talk about it too.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm just genuinely curious. I'm not trying to be a jerk or be rude or anything, but I mean, when you've got to ask, when your game is, when somebody has come in and not stolen your concept because they didn't, but when somebody comes in and does what you wanted to do,
took the carpet out from under you.
Literally, I mean, the most literal definition of taking the carpet out from under you. How do you and what do you do? What is your next step? I'm genuinely curious on what that is.
That's where I'd like to hear from them. Like, it'd be interesting to ask them, when PUBG released and all of a sudden a similar concept just came out of the blue, like how did you guys, what were some of those internal talks that you guys had with each other?
I would imagine it's only devastating.
Yeah. And what have you guys decided from this point on? Those would be some interesting things to hear from them. So I may reach out to one of them and talk to them about getting an interview, because that would be fun to sit down and just discuss that. Cause I think they're past it enough to where they've accepted whatever they've accepted. And it's not going to be a fresh wound, or we're like, hey, talk about this. Yeah, I think they've figured out what they're going to do, and are working on that. So now would be a good time to talk to them.
Absolutely.
All right. So do we, you have preference where we go from here?
I do not.
All right. So one thing, so our first interview at PAX, do you remember what that was?
Yes, I know what it was. Hand of Fate, a game I'd never heard of before.
Hand of Fate, which is a game that I had and I played, and I was like, "Hey, here, Hand of Fate's here." So
actually, it was a great test of our equipment.
Yeah, it was a test of it because it's not 100% in our genre, but it was. We needed to make sure everything worked before we had one of our scheduled interviews. So we did that, and our equipment, like it didn't quite work. Like we got it working during that interview, so I think we got half of that interview done.
Yeah,
so it was good that we tested on that one. But Hands of Fate 2 came out, and it's a much more polished version of the original game, and that's actually what they were promoting at PAX was Hand of Fate 2. So they gave me a key, a media key for it here, and so I've actually played it, and it is a lot of fun. But in this latest one, they actually added mod support. So this is pretty much add-on support for this, where you can create your own adventures and your own quests and things in the game, which I think will be really good for this. Kind of like board game simulator in a way. This game is somewhat of a card game. It's a card game mixed with a little bit of a third-person RPG style of a game. So what you can do is you actually play through. So they laid a card down, and that then goes into a scenario. Like you have to figure out what you're going to do. You maybe answer a question, you do certain things, or you might go into a fighting sequence and you have to fight in a certain number of bad guys or whatever the case is. So now you can actually create your own. So you can tailor the different scenarios that they might reach. What happens to them during the game. So, and this will be on the workshop for Steam, so people can create things. And I'm kind of curious, like how far will they let them go with this? Will they let them change out graphics, add in kind of like what they do with Board Game Simulator to be able to do way different things, or do you have to stick into a certain number of rules? Other than that, they had a number of fixes on this one for this, but not a lot of people play this. The main thing I wanted to point out was the modding. They're calling it the Game Master's Toolkit, and this will be on here. They have an SDK that you can use. So if you have done any kind of development like this, you can download that and give it a try and see what you're able to do. So they actually work off of Unity Engine for this. So you'll have to download Unity Engine, and then they have instructions of what you can do to start developing for that. But yeah, so this is something that just came out. This is on the 5th. So this was yesterday that they put this toolkit out. So I'm interested to see what they actually do with it. So if you haven't played it, at least go on to Steam and look at some of the videos of how this game works, because it's hard to explain when I say it's kind of a card game, but it's you against the game master. Like there's a guy across from you who's laying down cards, and you're playing against him, and it's random, so it's different every single time. So a very unique game, but give it a try, or at least go on as I said, on the Steam, check out some of the videos and see if it's something that you may be interested in playing. So that is Hand of Fate 2.
There you go. Very cool.
All right. As far as time, do we want to do this? I mean, we're right in the next game giveaway. Do you want to do this one?
Sure.
So for the rest of the time. Okay. So this will be same thing, exclamation point giveaway. Another 30 points. And I'm actually going to be giving away a copy of Chivalry. So
ooh, it's a good one.
So this is actually a really good game. I'll put a link into it, but this is one that Nick's played more than I have. Haven't you played this quite a bit?
Yeah, I used to play it with
a little bit.
Yeah, I didn't play it a lot. I've played it many of times though. So
this is Chivalry Medieval Warfare.
Yeah.
And this is one that Nick actually recommended to me. That's why I have it originally. It's $24.99 to be able to purchase it right now. Mostly positive and very positive for the ratings. And it's a medieval multiplayer action gore violent game, and it has a lot of sword fighting, or you cut off people's arms, kind of like in Monty Python.
Let me explain. So the thing that makes this game unique is it's not like a regular game where you just like, oh, swing a sword, hi-ya, like just chop it in half.
Yeah.
So all of the movements are very exaggerated. So you have this wind up to swing your sword. It's got to be 3 seconds. It's this the full thing is it's this massive wind up. You shift all your body weight and you carry through with it. So if you misjudge a an attack, you're just kind of standing there swinging your sword for 3 or 4 seconds while people are shooting bows and arrows. It's like a party game. You chop people's heads off, their head goes flying. Chop their arm off, again it goes flying. So it's all the movement is very exaggerated. It's a very, very fun game. You don't play it often, but when you play it, you have a good time. So there it is, Chivalry.
Very good.
It's a very good game.
Chivalry. So exclamation point giveaway in chat, and then we'll give that away before the end of the show.
Yes. Now, Brian, I'm gonna do a little switch up on you here. Talk about our game of the week, because this one just kind of hit me that we haven't done this game of the week in a while, Brian. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, GTA.
No. We're not doing GTA 5. I'm switching up on you. I'm switching up.
Oh, you're changing it.
I'm changing it.
I have no idea.
F13.
Don't say,
for game of the week.
I knew you were gonna say
we
that.
have not played F13 in many, many moons. So Friday the 13th is going to be our game of the week. I know Firebomb's going to be very excited. And, I was thinking about it, Brian. Everybody owns it. Everybody complains, but everybody owns it. Saul owns it. PH owns it. You own it. I own it. The Surth owns it. Firebomb owns it.
GTA next week.
Yeah, we'll probably. Nisco owns it. He's reacting, so he must own it. I was just thinking, we got some news. We talked about that big update last week with all the new Jason. That some of the
I need
new
to log in
counselors.
and check out that cabin, the virtual cabin.
Yeah, the virtual cabin. So Deacon does. I'm sorry, Deacon. PH is going to play, of course. It's his favorite game.
I don't think Deacon has GTA 5 either.
No, he does, I believe.
Does he?
I believe so. So nevertheless, we'll do GTA 5 next week. But this one just kind of hit me. There was that big update. And we never really played it. So F13, because of that, they've got not because of that. They've got a big patch. Well, not a big patch, but a patch out. The big one was last week. So a couple things here. They made an adjustment to the window collision blocker that is created when a counselor is in the process of climbing or jumping through windows. That, of course, is always an issue. And address several exploits and exploit locations. For the counselors, they fixed a bug that would cause bear traps to work inconsistently when being placed near doorways. That could, of course, be a huge issue. Fixed a bug that caused bear traps to become stuck in the counselor's hands. Fixed a bug that would cause counselors to sometimes become stuck when climbing through a window. And then just a couple of map, sound, and vehicle updates. But yeah, this will be good to hop in here. I haven't played this in, I couldn't even tell you how long. If I had my Steam open, I could tell you, but I don't because we're doing the show. So Friday the 13th, this Friday night, 7 p.m. So, wait, what time do we start at? 8? We started at 8, I believe.
No, we started at 7.
No, we used to start at 9. Now
we started at 8. Yeah, we started at 8 your time.
8 p.m. Eastern. I got a little confused there. 8 p.m. Eastern for Friday the 13th. If you've got it, jump in, install. Even if the game is bad, we will have a fantastic time. I can guarantee you with our group with F13.
Sometimes the bugs make it fun.
It does. So Friday
We're all
night,
laughing our heads off.
Friday the 13th, 8 p.m. in our Discord, links infectionpodcast.com. Hopefully Firebomb's there. That would really suck if he was not available this Friday. That would really suck. So, nevertheless.
He better be.
Yeah, well, whatever. Onward. Well, we'll never play it again, so this will be his last chance.
If he doesn't show up, this is his one chance to play it.
Yeah, exactly. So let's see. We're about ready to wrap up the show. We got anything else we got to jump into?
So let's see. As far as I think we can pretty much Conan Exiles. There's actually a really long video.
Yes.
That we don't need to cover, but because they talked about changing the combat system some. Adding some new mechanics to it, but I'd recommend watching the whole video because they show it off. It's like an hour-long video to where they go through all the features. And I put it at the end because I didn't think we'd really be able to give it justice today.
Yeah.
So, and I'd rather have a more organized, like a list of what they changed, because it was kind of like, hey, look at, this stamina regens differently. Like there's just little things that we couldn't really say, hey, here's a big list of stuff. So. I would recommend if you're interested in Conan Exiles, we'll have the link to their Twitch video that they did for an hour. You can go watch that whole thing. Once they put out, this is all stuff that's coming up. So once they come out with the actual patch, then we'll go through the detailed list of what they actually changed. So other than that, yeah, I think that's it.
All right. Well, with that with that being said, we will hop over to everybody's favorite segment of the program, and that is current players. All right, currently playing
for the whole time.
I mean, it's not my choice; it's their choice. Currently playing H1Z1 King of the Kill, what it used to be H1Z1, 5,443. The 24-hour peak 11,886 with a 70 peak of 14,815. Moving on over to Ark Survival Evolved, currently playing 27,499. 35,831 is your 24-hour peak with a 70 peak of 67,474. No surprise, no shock there. Currently playing Friday the 13th, 914, the 24-hour peak 1,194 with a 70 peak of 1,800. There's a chance that we could skyrocket this game in popularity when we play it Friday night. Moving on to our final game here, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. Currently playing this game, 528,616. The 24-hour peak, 2,803,438. And for some reason, my 7-day did not update, but I do have the number. Currently playing this, maybe it'll refresh now. Currently playing the 7-day peak is 2,957,507. Not sure why that's not updating on my graphic, but under 3 million for the concurrent players there for PUBG, which is
Nice.
I'm not gonna say that the end is near, the end is here, but
I mean, I looked at a graph and it definitely it's like this, and then it goes like this.
I get that, but you've got to put it in perspective with the amount of players. Of course, it was going to go down. The question is, can they sustain?
They banned 1 million cheaters too.
Well, they banned 1 million cheaters. Can they sustain? 2.5, 2.6, 2.9. Is this going? When is it? Here's a great question for you, Brian. When is the next? And you don't know this because nobody. I mean, I'm just asking you.
Yeah.
When will? Yeah, that's our show, Speculation Central. In the 7-day peak that we cover for look at my graphic just updated. When will that 7-day peak number be under 1 million? I mean, realistically, when will that be under 1 million? Is that something that we're going to see in any?
I think a year and a half it'll definitely be.
You think a year and a half it'll be under 1 million? Okay.
Yeah, I think you got to think of the So
I would like you to put that in the book because that's a very long-term That's a very long-term one. I would love to come back. I still think this game will be unbelievably successful in a year and a half, and we'll still be doing the show, of course.
Okay, so the date 2/6/18.
Year and a half under 1 million PUBG.
5 years. Okay.
I think I don't see unless here I guess this is part of my thing here is I don't know what something has to dethrone them. It's not that they're just going to slowly tick off. Exactly. Something's got to dethrone them. And honest to God, I don't know what the next thing is going to be. We are in such a weird time right now.
Things go in cycles though.
Oh, they do. Absolutely.
You know I think that in a year and a half, because there will be advancements in technology, there will be advancements in a lot of different ways, and these new games that are able, or people will get burnt out on the concept of battle royale overall. Right? The thing is just like the zombies, just like all this stuff, people were like, "Oh, this is the greatest thing. I love this so much," and then everybody was doing it, and then you just get burnt out. You're like, "I just don't want to do it anymore." Like I've had enough of it at that point, right?
Yeah.
And so you're waiting for any other game to come out that's something different and something new. And those games that are different and new are being developed right now, right? And so when they get polished and when they get done, developers release them, that's when that'll be the next thing, right? Sarah brings up, well, PUBG needs to have more varied play modes. I mean, that's the only way they can compete it is that they change their style. Just like some games that were maybe zombie open world survivals or whatever's are now adding in battle royales, right? I mean, even Red Dead Redemption,
the new one,
they're putting in a battle royale mode and they're delaying it. Yeah. I don't know if that's a great idea because what are people going to be burnt out on battle royales at that point? Possibly, like they may be putting in a game mode that people aren't going to really want to care about playing as much.
Yeah,
I mean, there'll be still people who play it.
I guess we should have brought that up. It's being delayed until October 26th. so it'll be out, fall of this year. It's really supposed to be out spring, or no, summer, I guess.
But I mean, that's another person coming up with a battle royale. Like, that's just one more that's going to help push that towards, all right, we've had enough battle royale.
Like zombie. We've had enough zombie. We are past the phase of zombie survival.
You get burned out. I think a year and a half from now, people will be like, all right, I don't want another. And it's not that PUBG is the problem. People just don't want to play, might not want to play this type of a game mode anymore.
I got you.
Like, what's the next game mode? Like, what's going to be the thing? Because a lot of it has to do with what keeps people entertained with streamers. What's worked with battle royales is that they're fast paced and they work for streaming. If people aren't, it's got to be something that people are willing to watch.
There you go.
And what is that? Like, what are people going to be willing to watch?
I have no idea.
The $1 million question. I mean, that's what people want to know. That's where the money is. So we'll see.
There you go.
All right. Are we ready to roll into tip of the week?
Yeah. What do we got?
All right. Tip of the week's where either I give it on a general gaming tip or for a specific game. And this week it's actually going to be for PUBG. So this is tip of the week. All right, so we kind of alluded to this earlier in the show, but in a previous tip, I went through and gave the different steps for installing Reshade, because at that time, it was something that Brandon actually had said, it's okay if you run that on PUBG. And as you know now, they're actually reversing that. Reshade was something that people were using to help kind of fix some of the visual flaws of PUBG, make it a little more vibrant, fix some of the flat colors. But, with this now being flagged as a possible cheat or something that might get detected as a cheat, it's recommended that you remove it. So to do this, you'll need to go into your PUBG folder. You're able to go into your PUBG folder by going into your Steam properties for that game. And then you'll be able to browse to that folder. Inside of that folder, you're going to see a folder named TSL game. Under that will be a folder called binaries. And then in there will be Win64. I doubt you have a 32-bit version of Windows. And so we'll assume that you're in Win64. Inside of that folder, if you installed Reshade, you'll see a folder that says Reshade and then maybe something after it. Delete that folder. There'll be some INI files in there, some files that start with DXGI, and then some files that start with D3, D9. Delete all of those files. Even the INI files, they'll be recreated when you launch. But delete all those files and then relaunch the application. That should load in, and you won't see that little notification that Reshade is loaded up in the upper left or at the top of the screen anymore. And that should fix that issue to where you don't risk being banned anymore. Also, there is an alternative that is not detected as being a ban for some of the problems that you're running into, and that is using the NVIDIA Vibrance option. So in the NVIDIA control panel, they have a little slider that's for the vibrance. If you go in there, you can drag that up a little bit. That fixes some of the color slightly to where it's not quite so dull inside of PUBG. And that's actually the NVIDIA control panel. If you notice on NVIDIA, they have a control panel and then they have NVIDIA GeForce Experience. This is in the control panel at the bottom of that first page that opens. There's a little slider there. Drag that up just a hair, and you can actually do it while the game is launched. So when you're at that the character screen at the very beginning, after you launch PUBG, open maybe on another monitor, drag that over there and adjust the slider. For me, 55% was just right, but you can drag it around and see what color you like to have it at. But that is a little bit of an option. It doesn't do some of the other things that Reshade did, but that should be a safe alternative to still have some nicer colors in there, because they still seem to be pretty dull inside of PUBG. So that is tip of the week.
Alrighty. Thank you very much, Brian.
Yes. All right. Let's go ahead and do this last giveaway here.
All right.
All right. So congratulations, Firebomb, our resident F13 person.
Enthusiast.
So I will send you a link. Yes, I will send you a link that will have a copy of Chivalry. So let us know if you've received a game in the past and you enjoyed it. I encourage you to maybe send us a little note, just let you know what you thought of it. Give us your little review of how it was, because sometimes I get some of these keys as review keys. So most of them are ones that I've purchased, but some of them are review keys. So if you can let us know what you think, and then we can pass that along. So thank you very much for participating.
Yes.
Are we ready for me? Is there anything you need to cover before I give my?
Yeah. Because sometimes you give this early, and then we talk, and then I ask again, and I look like an idiot. Starts mentioning that we need Chivalry for Game Week. That's possibility. I go through my friends list and see who's got it all. But I do want to thank him for sending me. He sent me a game today. I got the notification on my phone while I was at work. A Talisman, which is a board game. It's called the Magical Quest game for 1 to 6 players. So shout out to him for sending that over, and I will absolutely be giving that a try. So thank you, sir.
Is this Talisman digital edition?
Yes, sir.
I have this game as well.
Perfect. So there we go. We will give that a try, and I appreciate it. It was a nice little email while I was hanging out at work. Got my notification. I was like, oh, very, very nice. So I appreciate it as always. Thank you very much.
Very good. All right. Are you ready for me to roll out?
Yeah, whatever. Just do your outro. Fine. Go ahead.
Okay, Q, we're starting it now, so just remember.
Hey, Brian. Brian, where can people find you online, Brian? Where can people go to get your information?
If you want to find me at Voice and Computer, you can send me a message on Twitter there. Or if you want to go check out my blog, biteoftech.com, there's contact forms on there. Of course, I always encourage you to go to our website. We have a contact form on there that'll get to Nick and I. Or you're more welcome to contact at infectionpodcast.com for an email address. But if you want to catch us throughout the week and you just want to chat, go to our Discord. And on the right-hand side of our website, there's a little green button that says Join Server that takes you right into our Discord group. And people are talking throughout the day, playing games in there, and it is a lot of fun. So, and it's easy to do. It's a free program, very low resource usage. Also, we have our Steam group if you want to click that and get notifications of when we're going into our live show. So we just do a Steam notification right before the show starts. Because maybe you say, hey, I always forget what time, or I'm never, I'm not there. If you get a little pop-up on your Steam, that maybe will be a nice little reminder you happen to be at home. An excellent way to join us live. Also, there's a link to our YouTube if you want to subscribe to us on YouTube, and then all of our podcast links. So TuneIn, Stitcher, Google Play, iPhone, Android, and then RSS, which is a generic application. So if you have whatever off-brand podcast app, you just click via RSS, and that should load. If for some reason you ever have a problem connecting to our feed, definitely let us know, because we don't always watch every single one of these, and we need to hear it from you. So if for some reason you aren't able to connect to this, just let us know, and we'll try to get it fixed, get it remedied. So thank you very much for being a part of the show, everybody.
Absolutely. And I'm actually going to check right now. I haven't checked in a while to see if we're playing on TuneIn on iOS.
If they ever figured that out.
No, they have not. I guess we need to reach back out again. That's very frustrating.
We might have to pressure Blueberry, because it might be something that they have to do.
Potentially. So yeah, we're everywhere but TuneIn on iOS right now for whatever reason. F13's game night, that will be Friday night, Saturday. Probably some tabletop. That's kind of been the trend the past couple weeks. Probably have that. Sunday, maybe some more tabletop. Yeah, should be a pretty easy weekend. And then we'll be back, of course, here next Tuesday for another show. And if you are listening to this after the fact, as most of the people that consume this show do, you can tune in live to the show. We are here live every Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, right here on our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Infection Podcast. You can tune in live, chat, win games, and you're essentially part of the program. So you can do that, and we appreciate it. Follow us on Twitter at InfectionCast. It's a good way to keep up to date with game sales. We tweet that out every once in a while. Tweet out before the show, and all that other fun stuff. So, Brian, thank you very much. We'll see you. We'll see you Friday. I would imagine I'll see you Saturday as well, and then back here next Tuesday for episode 161 of Infection. We'll be going strong, and we're going to probably be discussing our PAX plans here in the next couple of weeks. We've really got to get that sorted out. So we'll hopefully get that up and running, and we'll go from there. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for tuning in to episode 160 of Infection, the Survival Podcast. My name is Nick Craig. You can follow me on Twitter at Nicholas M. Craig. You can visit our website, infectionpodcast.com. We'll see you next Tuesday at 7, everybody. Have a good one.